Welcome back, I'm here, and let's jump into today's video. Today's video is going to be very interesting because it's going to involve me talking about something that I do and really like to talk about. It's something that happened to me years ago, but I still get creeped out when I think about it to this day. But before I continue on, I've never had an experience like this happen again after this incident. The apartment that we were living in was located in this old building. It was probably 5 stories tall. Can't remember exactly how many, but it was somewhere around there. So I walked out of my room, walked towards the window, and turned off the lights. It was completely pitch black. I couldn't see a thing, but I started looking around and I noticed that my curtains were moving. They were moving back and forth slightly, almost as if someone was trying to open them. He came to my room and asked me what was wrong. I told him that the curtains were moving on their own and that the footsteps were happening. But of course we were both wide awake at this point. About 10 minutes later, I started hearing the footsteps again, pacing by my window. I also started hearing the curtains move yet again. This time, I was too scared to investigate, so I just laid in my bed and tried to sleep. He didn't believe me at first, but he followed me to my window and saw the curtains moving. And of course, in the morning after, when the sun was shining in, I got up and went over to my window to see if anything was out there. But there was nothing. What he saw was this. As you can see in the picture, this was his window. I don't know what the hell was going on that night, but that is the scariest thing that I've ever experienced to this day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye. And what he saw was that the curtains were moving on their own, just like they did the night before. Now keep in mind, during the daytime this doesn't really happen. It only happens during the nighttime. So he took this picture to show me what he saw. Well, after that, he left to go investigate outside of the window to see if someone was messing with us. I could hear him laughing in his room as I was playing my video game. All of a sudden, he stopped. I heard him scream in his room, and then he ran out of his room to come to my room. When he got to my room, he was pale white. His face was as white as a sheet, and he told me to come follow him. I stayed in my room the whole time while he went out there and looked around. Keep in mind, though, that the windows were shut. No one was outside of the window trying to open it. Someone or something was inside of my apartment trying to move these curtains. This apartment was one of the top 3 floors, if I remember correctly, and the walls of the apartments were super thin. I didn't know what the heck was going on, so I just decided to go back into my room and close the door. I thought, okay, well, whatever it is, it's probably going to leave now. But no, it continued on for another 10 minutes. Then I started hearing the footsteps again, pacing back and forth by my window. I started hearing the curtains move once again. At this point, I was super freaked out. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't want to come out of my room. I was terrified. I could literally hear everything going on inside of the next apartment over or below us. But when I got out, I noticed that everything was fine. The window was closed and locked. No one was outside of it trying to get inside. At this point, I was starting to lose my mind. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And of course, as promised, I'll be showing you some evidence at the end of the video to prove what I'm saying is true. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. And he also said that he double-checked to make sure that the window was closed and locked, and it was. We still couldn't figure out what the heck was going on with those curtains. So this happened a long time ago in a previous apartment that I used to live in with my brother and a few other people. And so one night, I was home alone in this apartment. Now keep in mind, this is like late at night, maybe even early in the morning. I can't exactly remember the time of this happening, but all I know is it was nighttime, and I was home alone. I was also the only one awake. Everyone else in the apartment was asleep. Now, my room was not directly attached to the window. There's a little bit of space between my bed and the window. If you were standing in my room, you would have to walk past my bed to get to the window. And then from the window, you could look out into the parking lot. Well, I was laying in bed and I started hearing these footsteps pacing back and forth by the window. Now, at first I thought it was weird, but I just kind of brushed it off and went back to sleep. However, it continued on for a while. Must have been around 5 minutes of this pacing back and forth happening, which was extremely odd because the person or persons who was doing this would stop pacing for a second, then start up again. Well, I eventually got fed up with it, and I got out of bed to go see what the heck was going on by the window. At this point, I was getting scared. Well, I eventually worked up enough courage to come out of my room to go take a peek outside to see if maybe my window was open. I ended up calling my brother, who was asleep in the other room. He came back and told me that everything was fine. No one was out there. Well, after that, my brother and I both went back to our rooms to go try to sleep. Well, it continued on for about 20 more minutes until finally it stopped. Well, fast forward to a year later. Me and my brother were both in our respective rooms playing video games. We went back to his room, and he showed me what he saw. And that is the evidence that I'm talking about.